So we're here for part 2 of my conversation with Kat, one of our writing team here at Maverick. Kat, thank you again for this. If you didn't watch part 1, this is totally unscripted, other than I have to do a second part interview because we're doing 30 minutes. Kat.
Yes.
What other things should people be thinking about in terms of constructing a post or constructing posts with just generally, if they were planning a week's worth of content, what would be some tips in terms of helping them diversify it and make it more interesting across a week?
I think you want to steer clear of it being so business predominant. Like if your every other post is a business one, I don't think that's going to draw people in. I think you want to space them out, sort of lure them in at the beginning of the week with maybe like news related topics that are really interesting for that week. And I think with like the engagement ones that you'd spoken about, definitely like images can work really well, something that's maybe like an analogy of some sort that relates to your business, because you're still making that link without it being so...
Do you mean like themes?
Yeah, I think if you've got like a business where you're trying to engage with people and touching on themes, I think that can work really well. I think polls are a great one, but...
Oh, there's some people who don't like polls, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, but I do think they're a good way to generate interest.
I think polls are a good way to train your audience.
Yeah.
Because for me to comment on a post, I mean, obviously, I make the effort to comment on customers' posts.
Yeah.
I make the effort to go and engage with my audience, because if I'm just sat there expecting people to engage with me, that's not. But generally, people will only like or comment, react, I should say, and comment on stuff they find interesting. But polls seem to get people engaged.
Yeah.
And I think with a poll, not these really stupid ones like, what do you prefer, red or black?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Not quite the same.
But I think polls done well can actually train your audience to engage with you.
Well, I think they prey on that idea of like debate, and so many people thrive in a situation where they're able to weigh in on their opinion. And if you add that into the mix of your other posts, people are like, oh, I'm interested to see the outcome of this, or I'm like intrigued as to what other people think.
Yeah, people are curious. How many people disagree with them?
Yeah.
Are they right?
And why? Like that's the big one. Like, why would you disagree necessarily? And yeah, I think they can work really well. I'm in favour of them. So
mixing it up with polls. What about hashtags?
I think a lot of people run the risk of overdoing it on hashtags. I think there's this expectancy to cram as many as you can into it, when realistically you kind of want to narrow it down to like, right, these are like the main focuses of maybe my business or the post itself. Like say you've done this analogy, you've touched on a theme, like something that's inspirational. Like you don't have to be hashtagging every other word. It's like one of those where less is more. So
yeah. And I'm going to ask you, I'm sure you've seen this one. Hopefully you've seen this one. What do you think about people where they tag a whole load of people in the post?
I think, again, less is more. I think
You've been very diplomatic there.
Well, I think it's dependent on the post as well. Sometimes, if it's a collaboration with a lot of people that were involved and you want to be making sure that you're thanking those that worked with you or whatever it's relating to, then sure. But I'd say, it's not always the way to go. But
okay. If you were going to put up a post and you wanted to get as many eyeballs on it as possible, and it was a business-centric post, what type of media would you use?
I think predominantly like PDFs can work really well. Something that you can slide through. It's got like the key points. You're not overloading someone with text, because the minute you see a heavy like text post, you switch off. Like I've done it before where I'll open it because it's had a really interesting opening line, and then it's just all text and it's too
like
much.
A book.
Yeah, it's like you're reading a short story. So I think, the shorter text post, but if you've got some interesting graphics, something you can slide through, that is a great way.
It's almost like PDFs are like LinkedIn's version of an Instagram carousel, aren't they?
Yeah.
I try to do mine square so that they take up a bit more space. But you're right. It's that first front piece. It's what they see initially that gets their attention. And if you miss that, you kind of like...
It's impossible.
Yeah.
I think I'd read somewhere that like the Gen Zers are like the percentage of their interest and scrollability has gone down from like 24% to 12%. So if you don't capture someone within those first 10 seconds, there's no point. Like they're not interested. They're going to just go.
And that's really important, because when whoever's watching us thinking, I'm going to do some posts here, it all fails. That quality content will fail if you don't capture people's and get them to stop scrolling.
Yeah, which is very hard in it's a noisy environment at the moment. There's lots of people with lots of opinions, but if you're sure on what you're saying and trying to promote, then I think it translates and people are going to be interested.
Cool. So, Kat, in the next 9 months, you're going to write thousands more posts, right?
Most likely, yep.
Do you see all social media's become very content heavy?
Yeah.
And do you see us reaching a saturation point on content? Do you think we're going to just be overloaded to the point where it gets like 10 seconds becomes 2 seconds? Or what do you think is going to happen?
I think it's one of those things where it's been a saturated market for the longest time, even before social media, the internet, all of that. There was so many books on offer. You couldn't have read every single one. So it's always going to be saturated, but you've got people that are into niche things, their interests are always going to be there. So it's just about finding your people maybe, and finding those that are going to be interested in
finding
what you have to
audience.
say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So what's the weirdest thing that has happened to one of your posts?
The weirdest thing? Oh, I think I had posted on my own personal, and it seemed to attract the wrong audience. And all you need is one person that disagrees with you, who completely took what I'd said, misinterpreted it completely, and went off in the comments. And you just kind of have to navigate it in a way that...
Did you have that awful sinking feeling?
Yeah, where I was like, oh gosh, have I really misjudged this? Like, I thought I'd got the tone right, and I thought I'd said... I think the post was a picture, and the text was all unclear. It was like a big brand that had put like about eyelash stuff like that. And it was all very hard to read. And I was talking about how clarity is really important, especially as a writer. And he said it was a marketing tactic, that they'd done it in a way that drew people in. And I get that, but that wasn't the angle I was saying. I wasn't saying it was badly done. I was just saying clarity is important. And yeah, it meant that he then brought in more people, and it just felt like I was bombarded with people misconstruing what I was saying. But
yeah, that's one of the things that's really difficult on social media, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit like the email thing, where you send an email and you thought you had a really nice tone, and then the other side, somebody else. See, I just think people need to just chill out a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's so easy for tone to be conveyed in the wrong way. And especially with, heavy content-based things, it's always going to be read in the wrong way by someone. But it's just how you navigate that after. So the comments, I think I spent probably too long trying to craft the perfect response, just to be met with more arguing and more...
There's some angry people on social media.
They really are. And I just was like, okay, I have nothing to add to this, so you've got a win this time.
But you'll be back.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I think you were here when this happened, a member of our team did a post about, do you remember the motorbike one?
No, I thought you were... No.
So just to show you how there's always two versions to a story, a member of our team did a post. And this will happen to you, so you can giggle and you can say, I could see that one coming. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you write something and put something together, and afterwards you see it.
Yeah.
So they wrote a post, and it was about this guy who'd carved a motorbike out of a tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the member of the team was focused on, he's a very talented person who's managed to do this.
Yeah.
Right? So it was perfectly innocent. But then somebody came along and went, that tree's at least 150 years old. It was like...
And it just explodes from there.
Yeah. 88,000 views and like 190 comments about the tree.
And I get that, but could you not also argue like all press is good press? Like, can you spin it in a way that
he didn't feel like it was good
I guess
press?
Not,
but it wasn't like a condoning of cutting down the rainforest or anything like that. But sometimes you just don't realise.
Yeah.
And I've seen another one, not a member of our team, but somebody put a post up on LinkedIn and it was a picture from a construction site. And in the background, one of the people was not wearing a hard hat on the site.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And somebody stumbled along, took the picture, and said, do you realise you've breached health and safety regulations?
Oh, no.
But sometimes you just don't see the other side.
And I think that's what can really help, being in a team around other people that can read it and be like, oh, have you thought about how this might be misinterpreted? So yeah, second opinions can really help.
But you will have one of those moments.
Oh yeah, it's
Everybody
impossible
has them.
not to.
I think I'm overdue one because I haven't had one.
Yeah.
I haven't had one in a while. But the reality is you are going to have one of those days where it goes not quite right.
Yeah.
But that's life, right?
Yeah.
So, Kat, thank you so much for joining me on an unscripted conversation.
Yeah.
You've done incredibly well considering we sat here and you had no idea what I was going to say.
Yeah. Hopefully it made some sort of sense.
It did. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Find Maverick on all the social channels. Do the thumbs up, the like, the comment, all of that good stuff that makes the algorithm overlords love us. And we'll see you for another episode really, really soon.